Power Tracks presents the most powerful sport on earth, the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Power Tracks is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck.
Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Leake, along with Army Armstrong. We're in Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky, where tonight's an exciting night because we may crown a national champion. And Army, it comes down to the classic confrontation, either Chevrolet or Ford. It's between Bigfoot and USA-1.
All year long, these two fellows have been going after each other. If Rod LITZAU takes a win tonight, Richard, he will be the national champion. Rich Hoosier's trying to hold on for that national championship with the Bigfoot Ford. It will be a war. 15 of the top trucks in America are here. They had to qualify to be at this event. It's going to be a Donnybrook. We're going to be part of it. It is going to be fun.
And I'll tell you what, we have got a full house in Freedom Hall. They're excited, and so are we. The national championship coming up on ESPN from Louisville, Kentucky.
It's Chevy versus Ford, compact and full-size pickups in a test of standard four-wheel drive systems. They start in two-wheel drive, but they're going to have to shift into four-wheel to make it across the ditch of doom. The Chevy shift and keep going, but the Ford drivers have to stop and lock hubs. Why is America having a change of heart in pickups? Chevy gives you standard shift-on-the-fly Insta-Track. Ford doesn't.
The heartbeat of America. That's today's Chevy truck.
The Clydesdales, the symbol of Budweiser quality, of Beechwood aging, the choicest natural ingredients, and a genuine commitment to freshness and taste. One beer lives up to all this. Budweiser.
For great personal service and low everyday prices, check the lineup at your neighborhood True Value hardware store, where the November True Value of the month is their Master Electrician 20-foot cord reel and trouble light. Now you can bring the light right to your work. You can plug in a power tool, and you're protected by a 7-amp circuit breaker. In November, get the Master Electrician 20-foot trouble light for just $12.66, where you see the banner at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
Energizer batteries were never invited to that other batteries playoffs. And today's Energizer won't be invited either, because no battery lasts longer than Energizer. A word to the wise, energize.
This is Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky, and Army, the excitement in the air with all the thousands of fans here tonight because for the first time in the history of monster truck racing, the Renegade's TNT National Champion will be crowned.
Well, you know, Richard, for years, the monster trucks have claimed title number one, I'm number one, I'm number one. Renegade came into this picture, put the money up. TNT Motorsports put a circuit together, and the number one monster truck will leave here this evening. We'll find out who it's going to be, Richard.
Well, right now you see Starvin Marvin Smith, driver of Stomper 2. He is looking at Pablo Huffaker's machine, the just showing off Ford. Pablo broke in qualifying. They are scheduled to face each other, and what they're going to try to do is get that just showing off machine fixed and come back a little bit later on in the competition. Meanwhile, this is the way our pairings look. Gravedigger Dennis Anderson has a bye run. He was top qualifier. Pablo Huffaker, as we say, hopefully goes up against Starvin Marvin Smith, Stomper 2. Then it's going to be Heartbeat, that driven by Brett Engelman, taking on Mike Witt, Stomper 1. Steve Dane, Awesome Kong, facing Bob Breen and Wild Hair. Rich Hoosier, number 1 in the point standings. Bigfoot takes on Dale Harris and Casper. John Brain, Mad Dog, taking on Terry Bowman and Southern Storm. Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher against Tennessee's No Problem and John Moore. And then it's Rod LITZAU, the guy chasing Bigfoot in USA-1, up against the Nightlife machine of Dave Weissorg. So that's the way they're going to come out of the chute in round 1 competition. 18,000 fans anticipating a great battle as we start the competition. It's going to be the injured Brett Engelman out of Lowell, Michigan. Heartbeat of America Chevrolet against Mike Witt, hometown boy, and Stomper 1.
Engelman, during a qualifying shot, Richard, his face violently slammed into the steering wheel when he went over the last set of cars. Meanwhile, he's trying to upset a hometown boy, so to speak, Mike Witt. He's going to try to mess up Witt's homecoming, and he's doing it. Look at that. Stomper's out. Sky's real tall, but the heartbeat nails him, Richard.
Heartbeat of America, Brett Engelman, the winner, but Mike Witt The loser in more ways than one. It looks like he has suffered mechanical breakdown on that Stomper 1 Chevrolet out of Mount Washington, Kentucky. Witt coming across the first set of jump cars, skied way up, the nose pointing straight to the hallways here at Freedom Hall. Let's find out what the problem was.
Mike Witt climbing out of the Stomper, a tremendous amount of damage to the rear suspension, Mike.
Well, Army, I don't really know what's wrong, but, you know, the clutch locked up real tight. We're running the slipper clutch. Boy, he came off the second set of cars and just, you know, shot it like a rocket straight up in the air. When we landed, I knew I'd have to stay in it to keep it on the wheels. And then I realized, you know, the back steering was messed up. So we'll just have to get outside and see what's wrong with it and fix it for tomorrow.
You know, I was wondering about the slipper clutch. Now, really, the slipper clutch seemed to work awfully well for you on that starting line going up that hill.
Yes, the slipper clutch, I think, will be the thing to go to in another year or so. We just need to get everything worked out, you know, fine-tune it and all that. Because we're building enough horsepower now that we're tearing the automatic transmissions up. And right here's, Army, is what we broke. We broke the tie rod in on both ends, so we can take care of that tomorrow. We'll get it fixed.
So Mike Witt will definitely be back running tomorrow night in the Stomper 1 Chevrolet. There you see Steve Dane. He is out of Killeen, Texas, driving the Awesome Kong machine. Steve is an interesting story. One of the few drivers on this circuit without any sponsorship help whatsoever. How does he do it? A lot of time, a lot of hours. Army spent some time this afternoon with Steve Dane.
Steve Dane out of Killeen, Texas, driver of the Awesome Kong vehicle. Looks like he's going to finish in the #3 position on the national tour this year for the Renegade points. Steve, you do it the hard way. You do it without a major sponsor. How exactly is that possible?
Well, Army, that's not by choice. We haven't got around to letting anybody know exactly how good we are at this. We're not as up to the level with a lot of guys, but we try to with the little bit amount of money that we can put into our trucks. Our trucks are solely pay for themselves. If we don't make any money that weekend, we don't have any money to put in. And we've been staying at the cheaper motels, like we're staying 5 miles away from here, and a lot of guys are staying in the one only a couple blocks away. We rolled the truck, and I had popped a couple tires this year, and we just didn't have the cash to buy new tires, which are approximately $2,000 a piece. What we had to do is look around Texas. Every so often you see one of these large tires laying in the field. We rounded up 4 of them for $200, so that's $50 a piece for these tires. I don't know if we'll ever see a deal like that again, but we had to take it when we could. And I'm running with inner tubes in them all to make them hold air. And I think I'm the only truck in the circuit with inner tubes in because it's dry rot and they're about 15 years old.
Well, you know, if you like to pull for the underdog, and a lot of people do in motorsports, this guy can play the role of an underdog, but believe me, he can nail you to the wall in a heartbeat. He's competitive. He's just looking for that big break, the big sponsor.
So while some guys stay in the hotels with chandeliers, Steve Dane stays where they leave the porch light on for him. But he's a good one, and he's taking on Bob Breen and Wild here right now, and they're off and running.
Boy, the kid out of Texas nails him on the start line. Look at that. Some good air. He loves Louisville. He would love to put a win under his belt here. Look at the confidence. He finishes his run, drives right out. Breen follows him. He will not advance with the wild hair, but we will see Awesome Kong later in competition, Richard.
And that has got to be one of the weirdest body styles I've ever seen on Machine Army.
Well, the rules say it must be a full-length body. It doesn't say anything about the width, so maybe they're pushing the rules. Speaking of pushing the rules, this guy has done it since day one. In Bob Chandler's original monster truck, Bigfoot, Rich Hoosier, who's carried the Ford Color Strong all year long, Rich, he goes out to do battle right now.
And he's going to do battle with a real renegade on the circuit. That is Dale Harris out of Pearl, Mississippi. He does a lot of talking, but normally, Army, he backs up the talking with the right amount of walking. Here goes Casper and Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, good lead. Bigfoot looks like he's going to advance, Richard. No problem with this round. Hoosier stays alive.
Rich Hoosier stays alive for that national championship, which is going to be awarded tonight here in Freedom Hall. We're going to go trackside. Army's got to pull Rich out of the Bigfoot machine and talk to him about that run.
Well, Rich, that's one down. We got a couple more to go. We were talking to George right when you were going in the staging lanes. We asked him why you went to the left side. He said you're just trying to figure out which lane is to run in. Were you satisfied with that left lane?
Yeah, it seemed pretty good, Army. The right lane seemed to give me a little bit too much air. I hit them second set of cars. This one wasn't too bad, so when I hit it, it seemed like I might have made it a little bit faster time. So I'm going to see if I can stick with it for a while.
So already tonight, we've seen Gravedigger, Heartbeat of America, Awesome Kong, and Bigfoot advance in this Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge from Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky, in just a moment on ESPN.
If you had a leaking or cracking basement, who would you call?
I can say...
Budweiser presents Top Rank Boxing, Tuesday night at 9 Eastern on ESPN.
Well, the competition's set to continue here on this national championship night in Louisville, Kentucky. As coming to the line, we continue now with first-round competition. John Breen, one of the Breen brothers out of Jefferson City, Missouri, in the Mad Dog Chevrolet. He will be facing the Southern Storm of Terry Bowman. Terry out of a great city, Goose Creek, South Carolina. I like that, Army.
Running out of the Ford camp from the South Carolina State. Bowen could lay down a shot for you. However, John Bream is a whole shot artist, and that's exactly what he does. Look at that. Takes a Mad Dog Chevrolet with no problems at all, Richard, and just drives to a win.
John Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri. The winner in Mad Dog, as that is probably one of the smoothest runs I've seen John make this year on the circuit. I'm sure John will probably agree as we go trackside now with Army and your winner, John Breen.
John, I noticed it looked like you were actually backpedaling out of that right lane. You didn't really attack everything, but you seemed to go a lot smoother than the other fellas. Have you found the secret out there this evening?
Well, you're going to have to take it easy, it looks like to me, when you first get started, because, boy, it's rough, you know. You get to bouncing in between them two pile of cars and you're done.
Now, I'll tell you a couple of guys that never take it easy. They're coming to the line now. John Moore, one of my favorites. He is out of my home state of Tennessee, and no problem, taking on Gary Porter out of North Carolina, the Carolina Crusher Machine.
Well, Porter, he'll be driving for all the Chevrolet people working that right lane. Moore, he comes out of the volunteer state, like you say, kind of an interesting individual. He follows the national tour, Richard, with his lovely wife and daughter, chasing his Renegade national points. But right now, he has his hands full. The Carolina Crusher comes out first. It's going to advance. Chevrolet will advance into one more round of elimination.
Gary Porter, your winner in the Carolina Crusher Machine. John Moore is going to load it up and head back to the volunteer state. And you know, Army, thus far, as we are more than halfway through this first round of action, I was wondering if you have noticed, has there been a good lane and a bad lane established yet?
Richard, I don't believe there's actually been a good and a bad lane established. I think there's a lane that each driver is more comfortable in, and that's what we're going to see. They're going to go where they feel it's a little bit better for them.
All right, let's see where Rod LITZAU, who is vying for the national championship tonight in USA-1, he sits on the right side against Dave Wysorek in Nightlight, and Rod got a great hole shot.
What a shot. Look at the balance of the truck. It almost flew through the air. He advances. He'll be back. Man, so many times this year, Richard, pressure's been on him. He did what he had to do. This is the same case right now.
You know, one thing that is interesting about Rod LITZAU in USA-1, the tremendous power he's got in that Chevrolet.
Instant horsepower. He just cracks the throttle and it is there.
Well, we are in Louisville, Kentucky, as you see some of the Chevrolets of Bob Hook Chevrolet here in Louisville coming out as they are putting on a display of some of their great vehicles here to the fans in Freedom Hall. We also have a new feature on the program. It's called the Question of the Week. And today's question of the week about the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge comes from Travis Richards of New Albany, Indiana. And Travis wants to know how many shock absorbers are used on the monster trucks. Well, basically, Travis, each individual driver has their own idea about shock absorbers. For instance, USA-1 uses 6 per wheel for a total of 24. Stomper has 2 on the back, 5 on the front, and then no problem in Bigfoot, they both use 4 shock absorbers per wheel. So, Travis, the answer is whatever works best for each individual driver and monster truck. And if you have a question about your favorite driver or monster truck, you can send it to us. TNT Motorsports, 5515 Poplar Park Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky. The zip code is 40228. And by the way, if we do use your question on one of our future ESPN television broadcasts, you'll get a free TNT Motorsports cap. We'll be back in Louisville, Kentucky with more on ESPN in just a moment.
They always say, it's not whether you win or lose.
Better stick selling corn, Dave.
It's how you play the game.
Loser buys dinner.
But it sure felt good when Garst Hybrids stole the show again by an even bigger margin.
Let's eat.
Ask your Garst seed salesman for all the details. You know, there's nothing wrong with second place.
Ooh, you got stuck, huh?
But it sure is nice being first. Thanks.
When there's work to be done, there's one name that's always on the job. Arrow. The Arrow T50 staple gun for weather stripping, insulation, and 1,001 household uses. The Arrow Expando attachment for heavy-duty fastening through sheetrock, masonry, and metal. The Arrow Hot Melt glue gun with automatic lever feed for bathroom tile, home repairs, arts, and crafts. The T50 staple gun, Expando attachment, and hot melt glue gun. Arrow. You'll grow attached.
The Vikings' Anthony Carter lights the fuse. The Cowboys' Herschel Walker explodes through the defense. Minnesota and Dallas go head-to-head on NFL Sunday Night Football at 8 Eastern, live on ESPN.
And the quarterfinals are about to begin now with your fastest qualifier. You got a bye because of that. Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger taking on Marvin Smith. Stomper 2, he got a bye in the first round because Pablo Huffaker, just showing off, broke down and couldn't race him.
Look at this, Richard. Anderson and the Gravedigger bury Stomper right on a starting line. The red lights of the Gravedigger will be back in the building to compete. The Stomper Chevrolet will not.
Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger, the best of the beast in this competition, says adios amigos to Marvin Smith and Stomper 2 as we bring out now the weirdest looking monster truck I've ever seen, but boy, he is a dandy. Steve Dane and Awesome Kong taking on the guy that broke his nose just a little while ago, Brett Engelman out of Michigan, and the heartbeat of America, Chevrolet.
Brett knows he has his work cut out for him. Awesome Kong psychologically knows he's going to win this thing. He believes he's going to win. It's going to be tough not to win. Look at this, nose over. Awesome Kong will advance.
Brett Engelman almost did it again as his nose went right down into the ground here in Freedom Hall. He gets beaten by the confident kid out of Texas. That is Steve Dane, driver of Awesome Kong, and boy, he got a tremendous hole shot here.
Richard, if you remember, some of the drivers have been talking about those first two jumps being the problem. That's exactly what happened there. He came off the first car jump. He was in trouble.
Well, obviously, Steve Dane has established some strategy to run indoors tonight in Freedom Hall.
When I figured out this track, I think I'm going to go easy over that first hill, easy over the first set of cars, and then just practically gun it before you hit that last set. If you cross up over the line, you practically lost the race. So try to win it on the last side of the track and don't get crazy off the line. I think I can take it home today.
Now, there's the kid that's talking confidence right there, Army. Steve Dane, Killeen, Texas, Awesome Kong. Here he is, the ultimate Bigfoot, the Ford, Rich Hoosier, trying to win the national title tonight, taking on Mad Dog and John Breen.
John Breen is going to make him work for it. Breen's not going to roll over. Look at this. The Chevrolet's out on him. Both trucks in a little bit of trouble. Richard, what a run. I don't know who won that shot, Richard Leake.
I am waiting myself. I cannot tell from top side. We will have to wait for the official word from the Renegades TNT Motorsports officials. John Breen just put on a heck of a battle against what some call the ultimate monster truck Bigfoot, but I'll tell you something, I still don't know on the replay who won it.
I don't either. It was awfully, awfully close.
Well, here comes the word. It is Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot, and the crowd happy about that. He will move on into the semifinals against maybe his competitor for the national title tonight, Rod LITZAU, USA-1. Now he is taking on Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher, and look for an upset.
This national championship is getting awfully close. We can feel it. USA-1 must win to meet Bigfoot. He does. Richard, that sets up a dream semifinal for the national championship between Chevrolet and Ford.
And so much for my prediction on an upset in this last race. You know, a few weeks ago in Nashville, Tennessee, the same situation, USA-1 against Bigfoot. Rod LITZAU played some mind games with Rich Hoosier on lane choice. What about tonight?
If you have lane choice, you're talking about time. The quick time gets lane choice. Which lane will you choose?
I'm going to stay in my lane. I'll stay to the right.
Okay, now we were in the same situation a few weeks ago in Nashville, Tennessee, and you were playing mind games with Bigfoot and moved to the opposite lane. Everybody thought you were coming out of that lane. Is there any chance of you doing that tonight, or we're so close to this national championship, you're going to stay where you know it works?
Yeah, that's mainly why I'm staying there now that I'm used to that. This side of the track threw me off a little bit, so I want to stay where I'm used to it and I know what I can do over there. I'm getting more used to it. It's going to be a faster run next time.
We'll let you get back to the crew. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so many times this year it's come down to this, but it's not going to be the final tonight. They're going to meet each other in the semis. The national championship tighter than ever on a Renegade Tour.
Me? Stain wood? That's a job for professionals.
Would you try a stain made for amateurs?
Well...
Czar wood stain.
Okay.
Other stains are made for professionals, but Czar Wipe-On Stain makes it easy for first-timers to get beautiful results. And Czar's controlled penetration gives you plenty of time to wipe off excess and avoid streaks and lap marks.
It looks great. My wife is gonna love this.
And for lasting protection, use Czar Clear Finishes. For a free brochure in the dealer nearest you, write us today.
Hey, come on. Can't you do that later?
Hey, I've always dreamt of owning a car like this, and I'm keeping it forever. To some, it's an antique. To others, it's a dear old friend. If you truly love your car and want to make the romance last forever, protect it with Pure Later filters.
Hi, I'm Charlene Hawks. On this week's ESPN Scholastic Sports America, we'll take a look at some of the country's top high school basketball talent. College scouts are saying this is the year of the Guard. Join us for our basketball preview show Wednesday.
If it's too cool for you outdoors in November, warm up indoors as the heartbeat of America. Today, Chevy Trucks and TNT Motorsports bring you the hottest in truck and tractor pulling and monster truck racing. See the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge Friday and Saturday, November 11th and 12th at Garrett Coliseum in Montgomery, Alabama, and on Saturday, November 19th at the new Charlotte Coliseum, Charlotte, North Carolina. The stars of monster truck racing will do battle on Saturday, November 19th in the spacious Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana. But while the big trucks are racing at Indy, you'll also see the top modified tractors and two-wheel drive trucks from the Red Band TNT All-American Pulling Series. Look for superstars such as David Banner, Pat Friels, Mike Stowe, Wayne Roush, and Ken Lamont. Look for the heartbeat of America. Today, Chevy Trucks and TNT Motorsports to bring a truck and tractor pull or a monster truck race to your hometown. In Freedom Hall with Richard Leake and Army Armstrong, where it is now time to shake, rattle, and roll. You let it all hang out, Army. We are in the semi-final round of competition. My favorite of them all, Gravedigger Dennis Anderson, the best of the beast is what he says, against the kid that has killed them all this evening, Awesome Kong and Steve Dane.
This reminds me of two kids, two bullies in a street fight. They are going to go for a win any way they can get it. Dane will be lining up right side. The crowd's on their feet. They're ready to go. Anderson wants to put a win under his belt, but Dane, not cocky, just confident. He says Louisville belongs to him, but in order to get to a win, he's got to pass the Gravedigger. I don't know if he can do it. It's a toss-up.
What would you say the key in this matchup is going to be?
It's going to be the start, Richard. Both drivers know how cautious they must be. Look, they throw caution to the wind. They're going after each other. Awesome Kong and the Gravedigger. Kong takes the win.
But not after a wild ride by both drivers, Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger barely being nosed out by Steve Dane and Awesome Kong. A great show for the 18,000 fans in Freedom Hall. Steve now moves to the finals.
Do you have a preference as to who you're going to be going against, Bigfoot or LITZAU with the USA-1?
No, Army, I'd like to beat them both. I wish I could race them both tonight and beat them. I'm third. I couldn't do any better than that this year. Hopefully, if we get some sponsors, I can take it all the way next year. And I think I might have it today. I don't know. We'll see.
Tell you what, you kind of got that Texas attitude and that Texas smile. I believe you believe yourself as a winner tonight.
I go to every show. I said this before. I think it's you, too. You don't come to a race thinking you're going to win. You might as well not even show up, because I go to every race thinking I'm going to take home everything.
Well, you can call him cocky or you can call him confident, but he's a good one. Steve Dane with an exciting win a moment ago. And here's the excitement of the night, though. USA-1, Rod LITZAU, Bigfoot, Rich Hoosier, going head-to-head semifinal round, but this is for the national title. They've been battling all season on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge circuit. We spent time with them.
Well, Richard, all year long, we've been talking about two fellas battling for that #1 position. Rod LITZAU standing on my right, Rich Hoosier standing on my left. LITZAU, the USA-1 Chevrolet, the new kid on the block, came to the circuit in Hampton, Virginia, and at that time, Rod, we did our first TV interview together. You drove your first monster truck race. You won then. You've been on a tremendous roll all year long. Do you still believe the Chevrolet can win the national championship this year?
I'm hoping so. I'm doing my best. The truck's been running good. Everything's going for us. Looks good.
Rich, you're on top of this thing. You've been there for many years. A lot of people feel that you're the best driver in this sport. What's he going to have to do to get past you?
He's going to have to do an awful lot, because tonight, I say, it might all depend on this weekend show, so he's going to have to do a lot, because I'm going to go all out.
Well, let the show begin. It's time to crown the 1988 Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge champion, Army.
For the national championship, it's one run. Chevrolet and Ford. Who's it going to be? LITZAU nails the Chevrolet. Chevrolet takes a win.
Look out!
Richard.
Rod LITZAU on his nose, now on his side, and he is down. Rod LITZAU has flipped USA-1. The first person out there is George Smith, crew chief of Bigfoot, helping Rod LITZAU. They are trying to pull it. Here he comes out of the monster truck now. He appears to be okay, but he has flipped the Chevrolet, but he has won the national title.
Chevrolet officially the #1 monster truck in the country. What happened when he went over the last jump? The left front wheel hooked on
wins in Freedom Hall the national title.
I want to jump out and push it back over.
The tire started twirling in, and it just kept wrapping under. I don't know if that tire let loose and come back. I had nothing I could pull on it. I had nothing.
It just hit, and it just started to fold under, and then it just like slow motion. I was hoping to jump out and push it back over.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of interesting. The first man to come over and help Ron LITZAU was Rich Hoosier. This was a war. The people in Louisville, Kentucky are standing up. 18,000 people just saw a tremendous event. If it's any consolation to you, that'll bump you up into the National Points League.
Yeah, temporarily. But, I don't know, it was a wicked ride.
We'll let you get back to your crew. We noticed Everett's over there working, but you are okay, right?
Yeah, just a little stunned, but first time I ever rolled, now I can say I've done it.
Well, Army, do me a favor, grab Rod and tell him the Renegades TNT officials have just informed us Rod LITZAU and Everett Jasmer's USA-1 Chevrolet has done enough to capture the 1988 Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge overall championship. He is the king of kings, and if it's any consolation to Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot, he gets to race in the finals in the break rule against Steve Dane and Awesome Kong. So maybe Rich can win the championship in Louisville, but USA won the overall champion.
USA won your national champion, but bragging rights are on the table now. Kong from Texas, look at this. He's in all kind of trouble. So's Bigfoot. Both drivers having problems in the final, Richard.
Neither drivers had their front wheels touching the cars like the rules specify, but in the finals, the first one across the finish line as the winner, that was Steve Dane and Awesome Kong.
Both of you missed the second set of cars with your front wheels, but Steve Dane, you will be crowned the winner tonight by virtue of crossing the finish line first. Congratulations to you.
Well, I don't like winning like that. Rich, I've been running him all summer. You can't give him any slack, and like I was telling you, I kind of gave her too much off the line. I think Rich, too, you get a little more excited towards the finals. It's more money, racing thousands of dollars. And makes me a happy man to win here tonight, but you got to get the foot. They're always there. They're hard to beat.
Everybody puts out 100% effort, and it's got to go to the best man. Tonight it went to Steve. Good job.
Okay, Army, so actually we have three big stories tonight. First and foremost, Rod LITZAU flips in the USA-1 machine, but he does enough to capture the national championship. Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot, they have been dethroned as the king of monster truck racing. And finally, Steve Dane, who is third in the national point standings, comes through tonight to win it all in Louisville, Kentucky. For Army Armstrong, I'm Richard Leake, and we'll see you again on the tracks across America on the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Freedom Hall.